Hey everybody, welcome back to Fallout Season 2. This is going to be episode 6. So we are following on from the developments in Scenario 5, spoiler alert, where the two sides, the Brotherhood and the Raiders, now understand that each other are there, and they've kind of got a grasp on each other's objectives. So the Red Hand Raiders are going to try to frantically finish the Altar, which is their improvised nuclear device, with which they will wipe the Wasteland clean. The Brotherhood has decided that this is quite categorically no bueno. So they're going to try to stop this and maybe seize a little bit of tech for themselves. Brotherhood is what they do. Now, a quick admin note, there will be no battle report next week because I will be at Valhalla in the fall, which is in Utah. I'll try to take photos and all that kind of stuff. Just know, next week, I'm very sorry, no battle report. But the next 4 reports, starting with this one, so this is episode 6, so 6, 7, 8, 9, are all going to build up to that finale. And at the end of each of those battle reports, the winner is going to either get an advantage in the finale or they're going to impose a disadvantage on their opponents. And we're going to start with explaining that here in a second with the board we've got set up. We're going to do a minor skirmish to start things off with the Steel Clad Manhunt scenario. So the war for the Wasteland starts now. And here we have the setup for the Steel Clad Manhunt scenario. This is one of the modifius official ones that I've modified a little bit just for the added intrigue. So first, let's meet the contestants. So these two have not been performing great, so this is their chance at redemption here. Over here we have the Lancer, who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in the water scenario, the Dead Reckoning. Now the rules for this scenario are you select 2 living models. We've got the Scaver over here. This is Beast Lieutenant, who hasn't really been that helpful, died a lot. So you select 2 living models. These models can each select 80 caps of equipment, which they have. And they are the only 2 models allowed for that team, and I'll explain why here in a second. So here's their equipment, wherever the glare is. Our Lancer has stocked up on the usual Brotherhood fare, which is armor and guns. So packing a laser rifle, sturdy combat armor, with the ballistic weave, giving them a physical damage resistance of 4 and energy 3, and a little bit of K fungus as a road snack just to help top off the 80 caps. Our Raider is going to be represented by a Scaver Outlaw because they have a similar stat line and points value or caps value to the Lancer. They have stocked up on drugs because Raider, they've got a dose of buff out, some bit of camouflage there, and then a double barrel shotgun with a hardened receiver. So a bit more close range, but hopefully they're not going to get shot at a lot. Now the way the scenario works is they are fighting over a robot junkyard, or rather they are scouts sent out after this junkyard who have just now arrived on the scene at the same time and understand they have to kill each other. Rather than slugging it out, inside the junkyard are 5 tokens. Each token represents a robot that is buried in the rubble. This is where we're splitting from the modifius scenario a little bit. The original scenario has you place the robots there, but I think it's more fun if you have to select a random robot. So the way this works is any of the living models can move close into base contact with the token. They can spend an action to make an intelligence test, and on a 5 or better, we select a random robot from these 6 contestants here in the back row. We've got an iBot, Mr. Handy, 2 Protectrons, Assaultron, and Sentry Bot. We've only got 1 Assaultron and 1 Sentry Bot because they are easily 10 times the cap's value of anything else in that field. So, could be interesting. This could be a long, drawn-out ordeal, or it could be over very, very quickly. Who knows? The game ends when one of the 2 meat bags is dead. So it doesn't matter how many robots are on the field at that time. Once one of the living models dies, that player has lost the scenario. For our War in the Wasteland campaign, the winner of this scenario will get to retain any robots that they have control of that are still alive at the end of the scenario and bring them into the finale. And I did ask you guys a while back to help us choose the names, so by popular demand, here we have Runt and Corporal Klinger. Game on. Now in order to start things off, we've got our War Budgies branded dice here. So on a 4+, the Brotherhood is going to get to go first. It's going to be Raiders' first turn. So the first turns on this scenario go pretty fast. They get slower as you go and add more models. Runt is going to scurry his way up and around this fence. And that's as far as he can go. The good news for him is his camouflage means that the corporal cannot target him with that super long laser rifle, not outside of black range anyways. So corporal is going to do the same thing and just barely makes it into base contact there, but they'll need to wait till the next turn. You're going to start rolling the event cards, and we get a lucky find. So unsurprisingly, in this junkyard, there is valuable crap laying around. So we're going to randomly select a model, neither one's engaged, so they will just gain a random item. 4 up, Brotherhood of Steel. Yeah, it's going to be the Raider again. And Runt has found some mole rat meat by his foot in a junkyard. You should totally eat that, bro. Now the Raiders went first last turn, and we've got even numbers so far, so we're going to jump over to the Lancer, who is going to try to unearth this robot. Hitting on 5s. There you go, right off the bat. We're just going to count across there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the winner is 3, a Protectron. The Protectron is immediately added to the Brotherhood team, and once again, Corporal really wishes he could take a shot at that guy, but unfortunately the camouflage is working and he's blending in with the shipping crate. Okay, we're going to take a moment to take a second action to move up towards the next token. Meanwhile, Runt is not going to be shown up. He's going to move into base contact with this token and see if he can get something out of that crate. Much like Klinger, he is unlocking on 5s. Hey, there we go. So it is now a choice of 1, 2, 3, or 5, re-rolling the 6s. Oh boy. I don't know how he fit in that crate. It's the token, all the rubble rises up, and the crate rises up, and everything rises up as a sentry bot manages to pull itself free. In a move that is both valiant and probably misguided, the Protectron is going to advance up and fire his hand laser. He's going to have to select the sentry bot because of the camouflage. His range is only green and he cannot see Runt. Protectron hitting on 3s. Yeah, off to a good start. I mean, he did just come out of a junkyard. Now the sentry bot is faced with all kind of options, but right now he's got a bunch of Raider scrap code soaring through his circuits. So he's going to launch his missile launcher right over here at the bright red target. Corporal Klinger does have cover from the nearby barrels, so he'll be hitting on 6s. Oh, it's going to go wild a little bit. Scattering orange from his target in which direction? This way. So let's check that. There we go. Draw ourselves a straight line since it is not a grenade weapon. No real obstacles, so the impact point will be right here. So that shot will just barely clip him in its yellow radius, so that will be 2 physical damage against 4 physical armor. He blocks it both. That shot will take him what we will call out of line of sight from the guns behind the van there. So Sentry Bot will simply trundle forward to offer some cover to his new master. That's it for turn 2. Already big players on the field, and by big players I mean the Raiders have a Sentry Bot. The Brotherhood has a very helpful but very slow Protectron. But we never know. There's still plenty of robots on the field, and neither one of the meatbags has taken a hit yet. So moving on, turn 3. At the start of turn 3, we've got a mole rat tunnel. While this event's in play, we place a marker at the center of the battlefield, which is helpfully exactly where one of the tokens are. And a model who ends within yellow might get themselves bit. So the numbers here are still evenly matched, so we're going to go over to Raiders to lead off with this turn. The Sentry Bot is going to open up on the nearest available target, which is the Protectron. It's a clean shot with the missile launcher, so hitting on 8s. Immediate hit with an armor break. Has 3 physical damage. The Protectron's pretty well armored with 4 physical armor, down to 3 with the armor break, so 3 against 3. And he only takes 1. It's actually mildly impressive as this whole area here just explodes into flame and the Protectron keeps waddling out of it. Protect and serve. As his other action, the sentry bot will open up with the minigun. Now this is a 5-shot walked fire weapon, kind of what we've seen in the previous scenarios, episode 2 I believe. So we're just going to run through this pretty rapidly. We're still hitting on 8s because it is a clean shot. Every consecutive hit will add 1 armor break until there is a miss. So starting with shot number 1, hitting on 8s. 8 is a hit with extra damage. It's 2 damage against 4 armor. He blocks it all. For the second shot, the previous one was a hit, so we'll add an armor break to this, hitting on 8s. And this is a miss, so we'll reset that. Shot number 3 on 8s. Shot number 3 is good. But at 1 damage against 4 armor, it's going to take some armor break to even have a chance of chewing through this guy. Shot number 4 with an armor break for a consecutive hit on 8s. Not quite. Final shot, we'll get rid of that armor. Shot number 5, hit with a bonus. 2 damage, 4 armor. He does take another 1. And I have to say, that Protectron handled that like a champ. Maybe he belongs in the Brotherhood. And somewhat humorously, he has now finished his activation within yellow of the center, so a mole rat is going to try to bite that. He's going to test his luck of 1. Unsurprisingly, no. 1 physical damage plus a yellow die. 1 physical damage. He has strong armor for physical, so he does not care. Over to the Brotherhood's turn. Lancer was able to just get into contact with that when he ran away from the giant explosion. So we're going to roll to see if he can activate that robot. On 5s. That is not a 5. I see Klinger's luck has followed him from the previous scenario. That is also not a 5. As he frantically hammers his fist and kicks at the robot. Come on, you stupid thing. We're going to jump over to Runt. He's going to try to take a chance here. Come down yellow. And another yellow to reach this token in the corner. Honestly, if he activates that and it turns out to be the Assaultron, this is going to be real one-sided real fast. But that does put him in the sight line of Dr. Protect and Serve here. He's going to shuffle around yellow and shoot his ham laser. Hitting on 3s. Not even close. That would normally provoke a shooty response from Big Chungus over here. However, both of his weapons have not reloaded yet. They will not reload until his next activation. So instead, he's going to respond to that attack by shuffling up orange and trying to cover, literally, the center objective. That closes out turn 3. The mole rats go away, and we're going to move on to turn 4. Our event card for this turn is going to be a Predator's Roar, which I'm going to assume was the mole rat that broke its tooth on the sentry bot. Our next event card, by the way, has the flip icon, so we'll get a preview of an eerie mist rolling in. That could change things up, because all attack skills which are not melee are at -2, and most of the robots rely on ranged attacks. Start of this turn, we're going to switch back over to the Brotherhood, because the body counts are technically still even. We're going to lead off with the mildly heroic Protectron, who will charge into Runt. Not that he's terribly great in melee, but a model which is engaged cannot use their computer skill. The Protectron is rolling a green die for being unarmed, a black die for the charge, and will be hitting on 3s. That is not a 3. Now Runt really wants to get to that objective to see if he can get the Assaultron before Corporal Klinger does. So he is going to declare a move around, so he's still in contact, but it will draw an attack from the Protectron. But as a quick action, so the attack is hitting on 1s. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Runt tries to activate the token on 5s. He gets it. So we now have a 1, 2, 3, or 4 re-rolling 5s and 6s. Oh boy, I can't see it from here. Nope, reroll. That's still a 5. Some days you're like this. That is a 6. 2, so it is Mr. Handy. You can tell Runt's a little disappointed, but you know what, he'll take what help he can get. Meanwhile, in Team Brotherhood, Corporal Klinger will frantically tear through the rubble with his bare hands, trying to find the on switch. On 5s. Nope, not quite. On 5s. There you go, buddy. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the winning number is 4. So the other Protectron. I'm sure there's something to be said about beggars and choosers here, but I can't hear it over the sound of this missile launcher. Speaking of which, our big boy in the middle does not have a lot of room to maneuver, so he's simply going to take an orange move, clamber up onto here, which will give him a shot with cover, but with the missile launcher he may be able to catch them both. Missile launcher hitting on 6s with cover. There you go. So the Protectron is in the blast radius, so they will take 2 physical damage with the 1 armor break, so 3 armor. And they'll take 2. Meanwhile, Corporal Klinger was directly in the blast, so they will take 3 physical damage with 1 armor break, bringing them down to 3. So 3 against 3. Like a boss. He's also going to take that opportunity to use his quick action to move. Here is the fun part. There's only 1 token left, and it is either one of the weakest or one of the strongest models. So we don't really know. But Klinger's got to get himself out of kind of a bad spot here. So he is going to use his quick action to skip around behind the Protectron. Again, staying away from the big angry guns. And he'll see if he can work his way around here. Finally, Mr. Handy's going to go right to it. He will take a very simple 1/2 inch charge move and will attack with his buzzsaw. Hitting on 5, yellow die for the buzzsaw and black die for the charge. 5s it is. Full armor break, quite a cutting remark, isn't it? Haha. Anyways, 2 damage against 2 armor, and 1 goes through. You do have to be careful with these Protectrons though, because once they've taken 4 damage or more of their 7 health, there's a chance that the warranty will spontaneously void and they will explode. So, that's fun. That wraps up that turn. So all but 1 of the players are now on the field. Whether anyone will survive long enough to get to the center, we're not sure. The Raiders currently have, I don't know, I'd say a fair advantage in power level, but Protectrons can be pretty tanky, as we've already found out. So, moving on, turn 5. And just to jazz things up, the Eerie Mist is now in effect, so all non-melee attacks are now at a -2. On Raider turn, Run's got some options. I mean, he can sit there and just kind of wait for the big guy to chew through that terrain and all that. But realistically, he's here to get a job done and as quick as possible. So he'd like to get out of here. So we're going to take a yellow move up to here. And he will move over the car, which would be difficult terrain for him. Take an orange move to hop over the car. And hopefully he's not just made himself too much of a target. Speaking of, on the Brotherhood, his Nemesis is going to make a slight move out here, kind of risking himself in front of the sentry bot, but this could be a lucky shot to finally burn down the squirrely Raider. Shooting normally at 7s can be down to 5 because of the Eerie Mist. Oh, that's unfortunate. And that's exactly what Runt was waiting for as he signals the big guy to open up with both barrels. He'll sacrifice a quick action, reload the launcher and the minigun, and light up this whole fence. Hitting on 6s, he's got a clear shot, but the Eerie Mist is in effect. So 6s for the missile launcher. Woo, all right, that is a maximum scatter. Maybe it's because I'm a bad person, but I love it when weapons scatter. So when you roll an X on the missile launcher or any scattering weapon, it will scatter to the maximum possible range, which for the missile launcher is gonna be red. So there's no telling where this thing's gonna end up. We're gonna roll the little scatter die thingy as close as we can to the model. It's going this way, so red distance, it would be aiming here. That doesn't really give him a clean shot through the barrels and all. So it's going to hit and explode on this obstacle. It's going to open up with the minigun. This is going to be, again, walk fire, 5 shots, hitting on 6s. We're going to do this kind of rapid. So, shot number 1, miss. Shot number 2. Shot number 2 hits with extra damage. 2 damage against 4 armor. He blocks it. 4 armor is coming really handy. Added an armor break. Shot number 3. Also a hit. 2 damage against 3 armor. Takes 1 damage. Shot number 4, now with 2 armor break. 6s and another bonus damage. 2 damage against 2 armor. Oh, he takes 2. Large caliber bullets really got a sting to him, don't they? Finally, shot number 5 is going to have 3 armor break, hitting on 6s. No, just not quite, which is good because that could have been it. As the minigun spins, clicking empty, and Corporal Klinger feeling very lucky to be alive. He's taken 3 of his 5 health. His stalwart protectors will move in, trying to have a little bit of help here. This one's going to break away from the Mr. Handy in a charge move. Move into contact with Runt. Free shot from Mr. Handy, hitting on 3s. Not a hit. He's going to try using his protector on hand laser in close combat, hitting on 1s. That's not quite. But at least he's kind of got Runt tied up for the moment. Or he would, except that Mr. Handy is going to likewise charge in. Just kind of forming a little mess here. Hope nobody self-destructs in the middle of this. That would be hysterical. All right, the Mr. Handy Buzzsaw, yellow die, green die for having a friend, and black die for the charge, hitting on 5s. That would have been a lot of hurt, but it wasn't. And then on the back row, Protectron's going to shamble forward yellow and then take an orange to shuffle up, doing his best to protect and serve and provide us cover. At the bottom of that turn, we've got a giant cluster here in the middle, these two running in. The two sides are starting to collide, so really, if you remember, the only victory condition here is which one of the living models goes down first. So this could be it, going into our next turn. Our event card for this turn is going to be fresh, so a welcome cool breeze kind of gets that eerie mist out of there. So yellow die will count as -1, blank yellow die. So the Brotherhood is still in kind of a sticky situation here. What we're thinking is that we want to kind of rush and get up close so that missile launcher is taken out of play. So what's going to happen there is Corporal Klinger is going to be a big freaking hero, hopefully. Make a red charge, out of cover, and into combat with Runt. Really, his only chance here is to close the distance, so that shotgun, that missile launcher, it's all rendered useless, and this just turns into a mass melee here in the middle. We'll be shooting his laser rifle in close combat in hopes of being able to burn through some of that armor. So hitting on 5s. Not this time. But he did look very heroic. And what this means is Runt's in a tight spot because he can't move in such a way that he can get to that objective without crossing the entire length there and not being able to activate it this turn. So instead, he's actually going to try to clear up his back row with Mr. Handy. Mr. Handy once again at it with the buzzsaw with a green die for having a friend, and blanks on the yellow die will count as -1 on 5s. That's a 9. Second shot. 7, 6, so close, but not quite. So with everything this tight, the Brotherhood is going to play a card that I like to call going all in. And the Protectron is going to charge into the sentry bot, who's not actually allowed to retaliate this time because none of his weapons are loaded right now. Here's an aerial view so you can appreciate all the cluster mess this is. Every player on the field is inside this one little box. Shooting his hand laser at the sentry bot, hitting on 1s. 1s it is, all right. Has 3 energy against 2+1 armor. Okay, he blocks it. All right, now for the Raiders making either the play of the game or the mistake of the century. Runt, he's going to back out of combat up onto the car where he's going to declare that move. The Mr. Handy has Protectron tied down, but Corporal Klinger gets a free shot at him. He's also going to take his buff out, which will briefly boost his endurance to 8. Making a quick action attack, hitting on 5s with the laser rifle. Oh, there we go. 3 energy damage against 2 energy armor. 3 energy damage. It burns across Runt's leg as he jumped up onto the car, racks his shotgun, and levels it at Klinger. He probably says something really clever, like a cutting one-liner, but we can't hear it over the sound of ka-choom. Oh, and he hits just barely. A 6 to hit. Bonus damage, and the star is a stun. That is 4 physical damage against 4 physical armor, but Klinger only has 2 health hanging on. Oh, wow, and there he goes. All this madness ripping around, and Klinger gets tossed aside by the shotgun blast. His robot's powered down without a commander, and the Raiders will get to bring in Mr. Handy and the Sentry bot into their final scenario.